Okay, if you just heard that piece and thought, I want to play that for myself, or perhaps you're a teacher wanting some more tips on how you would present this to a student, then this next part of the video is for you. So, what I love to think about in pieces is how I can reduce it in ways that make it easier to learn. So, some of you may have already started learning it from the falling note visuals in Sheet Music Boss. In their YouTube channel, which is fabulous and fun. And I'm a very visual learner too, so I think there's lots to be learned from these different styles of instruction. But if you're getting stuck, this video is for you. So first of all, I love to know what key I'm in. And in this one, we're in this beautiful key of F sharp major. And you'll hear that we really stay in a very key-centric, minimalistic way in this piece. So F sharp major would sound like this. If we were playing it on the keyboard. And I would encourage you to just try that. Be like, okay, it's all blacks and it has a B. And then we actually have what we call an E sharp. And it really is just the F note. But you'll see that in this piece as E sharp, which is an F. The only other white note we see in this piece is one time towards the end of the piece, you'll see a D natural. So you'll get this beautiful kind of cool chord actually in the left hand in measure 47. So that's kind of a special chord. You'll want to think about that as you move towards the end of the piece. The next thing is we can almost like fake our way a bit through the beginning of the piece. So lots of students learn the beginning, they're like so excited, and then they see the second page and they're like, oh no, I'm way in too deep. But the thing is, there are some things that could make the second page easier for you, so I hope you'll stick with it. Next up, fun fact, it's in 2/2 time. So we would count it like this: 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and that just means there's a strong beat, 1 and 2 and the 2 and beat is more gentle. So in this piece, sometimes we're coming in on like an and beat or a 2 beat, and that's where I would get students to have a really gentle touch with that. So strong beat in, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. So you want to keep your thumbs light. That's just a little tip with my students, and if you're teaching this or you're learning it for yourself, that makes it sound really polished and really gentle, and keeps that mood of Minecraft calm. The next thing is you'll see a lot of this chord, and this is, or this triad, whatever you want to call it. So it's an F sharp major triad, and it's just in a different position. We have root position, first position, and second position. So we start out with this in the left hand on page 1, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 1 and 2 and 2 and 1 and 2 and you're gonna hang out a lot on that chord, which is great because you can kind of get your zen together. You can kind of feel groovy, and if you got lost, you could make up a song on the just the black keys, and it would probably sound a lot like Minecraft. Anyways, so the next thing you'll be watching for is you'll see some doubled up notes when we start to get into this right hand. You'll see like 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Now there's not a lot of finger suggestions in this one. So as you're thinking about the way to plan your fingers, usually I try to plan it so that I can keep it as smooth as possible. Or if you end up letting go of a note and having to leap to a note, then just be extra aware not to bump it, because you really want to rely on it sounding smoothly connected in this piece and not leaving it all to your pedal, because sometimes we try to just pedal for smoothness and you can still feel the bumpiness of it and hear it. So choose finger planning that kind of keeps it smooth and connected as you play. The next thing that you could think about is in the left hand, it starts to look a little frightening at measure 33. And I felt like that's where some of you might have got to and then thought, oh man, I paid like $9 Canadian or whatever you paid for the music, and now I can't finish it. And I think you can. So with my students, I always say look for notes that stay the same. So from measure 33 right to the end, there's many, many times that you'll see F sharp and A sharp. So then you'll be looking for where those are and what changes. So in measure 33, I'll change it here. Measure 33, you'll see 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and then you notice that we kept the top two the same and we just moved this to D sharp. So 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and then these are staying the same and now we're adding both flat keys down. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and now we still have these and we're adding a black key on either side. 1, 2 and 1 and 2 and so you could see that from measure 33 to measure like 40, we actually are really centered around F sharp and A sharp, those triad notes in F sharp major, and yet we're adding notes like before and after them. So that can be a way to get centered when you're playing. Then after that, measure 41, we keep the F sharp in the top and we're moving down. Again, I'm not teaching you the whole song here. I'm just kind of giving you some hints. If you have this music, I know that over 300,000 times people have watched this Sheet Music Boss video of this exact arrangement. So there's got to be students out there thinking, I really need to learn this piece. So the next 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and again we saw the outside edges stayed the same and the middle note moved from C sharp to D sharp. So those are subtle changes, and a great way to analyze music is to look for those shifts, and that can be done away from the keyboard too. If you're getting lost at the keyboard and you can't figure it out, you can spend time away from the keyboard as well. Measure 45, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and now that's that beautiful chord I said that has two white notes. It's the only time that happens, and it's kind of neat to hear that one. Measure 49, we have the big chord with F sharp and A sharp on the top, and then A sharp, C sharp at the bottom. Down to a low, low F sharp here, and you can hold that. I like to breathe with those endings. 1 and 2 and then you can float off the pedal the same time as you float off with your hands. So those are things I would look at in a quick lesson on Minecraft.com. You'll also be watching for little 8VA markings starting at measure 40, something you can watch for. And I hope you really, really enjoy this piece. You can listen to the first part of the video again if you need some tips. And let me know if you learn this one for yourself or if you plan to pick up this arrangement from Sheet Music Boss. I'll link all of that in the video description. I'll see you next time.